If you like to talk about combat sports and you want to join the discussion, click the subscribe button below and the bell notification icon next to it and join Knucklehead Nation. What's going on, Knuckleheads? It's the Fighters Rep. Thank you so much for joining us. It is 7 p.m. You know what time it is. It's time for us to talk about combat sports. And we just got the opportunity to watch the Deontay Wilder versus Luis Ortiz 2 weigh-in. It was a pretty straight to the point weigh-in. Not a lot of trash talking going on. Not much going on if you ask me. But interesting takeaway from this weigh-in. Deontay Wilder at 219.5 pounds versus Luis King Kong Ortiz weighing in at 236.5, which is essentially chiseled for old man Ortiz in this one. Hasn't been this thin. I believe they were saying since, 11 fights ago or something like that. I mean, Luis Ortiz looking like he really took this fight seriously and didn't look tired, didn't look gaunt. I've heard things in the background through the grapevine that indicate to me that perhaps his methods of working out wouldn't bring out the best in him, would probably weaken him, and these are, professional voices I'm hearing this from, or a professional voice. However, he looks ready to go. He looks as chiseled as I've ever seen him. The dad bod has been set to a minimum, and he weighed in and looked ready to go. And Deontay Wilder, as always, ready to go. Interesting that he's almost at 220 pounds for weigh-in. That means he's going to come in over 220 pounds tomorrow, and that's dangerous if you ask me. A guy like Deontay Wilder, with all the shredded fast twitch muscle he's got on him, coming in at 220 pounds at weigh-ins and looking still entirely as shredded as always, long, thin, like a freaking grasshopper ready to pounce on his prey, looking like a praying mantis, long and wiry. Scary guy, man. He's just a scary guy. And there wasn't a lot of trash talk, a lot of respect between these two, a lot of respect from Deontay Wilder, holding Luis Ortiz's hand during the face-off, putting it to his head, showing respect. You got to appreciate the fact that Deontay Wilder shows respect to Luis Ortiz. I do think that obviously, and he's talked about it before, he feels a connection to Luis Ortiz since both of their daughters are sick. As you may not know, Deontay Wilder's daughter was born with spina bifida. So that's a pretty bittersweet connection they have there. And Deontay Wilder constantly showing respect. And if I'm being honest, I remember even when Andy Ruiz was on the broadcast, a PBC broadcast, alongside Deontay Wilder showed a lot of respect, a lot of class, a lot of positivity. That's something I like a lot about Deontay Wilder, considering the fact, or regardless of the fact that I wish he would have been fighting somebody else in this fight. I kind of don't want to see him fight Luis Ortiz again. As we've mentioned on this chat several times, I would have loved to see him fight some of the other young bloods in the division. But it looks like we've got this fight. It's something to be excited about. It's definitely not a fight that Deontay Wilder can take lightly, considering the experience he had with Luis Ortiz in the last fight. It's just, as we indicated on the prediction, I believe that Deontay Wilder is just too much for Luis Ortiz. I think Luis Ortiz is just too far along, but it is a good sign for Luis Ortiz that he weighed in at 236.5 pounds. And I think it's a good sign for Deontay Wilder that he weighed in at 219.5 pounds and still just looks absolutely shredded to the bone. Deontay Wilder, one of these just genetically gifted guys. You're not going to see him gain any fat. Just totally chiseled, muscular, long. Great genetics, I think, for boxing. I always feel like those long, wiry guys are really great as far as leveraging their power. I feel like a guy that's comparable to that is super middleweight Callum Smith, kind of the same long, scary body type where, you know, if they really turn the hip and catch you at the end of that punch, you're going to hell in a handbasket. Luis Ortiz, strong guy, and looked like even though he had lost fat and lost some weight, his arms were still very big. He's not a big-chested guy, you know, but all his power seems to stem from his arms, his shoulders, his back. Really big, strong-looking, brutish-looking guy. But, again, just don't think he's going to have enough to beat Deontay Wilder in this one. Deontay Wilder's already seen the best, I believe, of Luis Ortiz. I think the only way Luis Ortiz is able to pull off the upset in this one, knuckleheads, is if he boxes patiently, conserves his energy, is extremely defensive, and stays more active than Wilder, but is extremely defensive and wary of that right hand. And I think if he does hurt Wilder in this fight, or if he does connect, he can't empty his tank. He's got to maintain the same pace throughout the fight. I think that's the only way he beats Wilder is with a decision. Of course, there's the possibility that he can knock out Wilder, but I just felt like he hit Wilder with everything in the last fight. He wasn't able to get him out of there. And I think the smart fight to fight for Ortiz, if he has a chance or wants a chance to win this, is for him to box with Wilder, conserve his energy, and not, you know, even if there's the opportunity to finish Wilder, he's got to be extremely careful there because he got beat last time because he emptied his gas tank on Wilder, and Wilder was able to take it and dish it out and finish him off. So I think he's got to fight a very disciplined fight if he plans on beating Deontay Wilder, and I just don't see him being able to keep up at his age now that he's aged even more since the last fight. And I don't see him being able to maintain that steady, disciplined pace without getting caught for the entire 12 rounds against Deontay Wilder. It really is a situation like Wilder's indicated in the past where you have to be perfect for 12 rounds against him unless someone comes along and can knock him out. But he just has to be perfect for a couple of seconds. If he lands that one big punch on Luis Ortiz, I mean, he finished him in the last fight. He rocked him all over the place in the last fight. We do know that Deontay Wilder can finish Luis Ortiz, but Luis Ortiz cannot say the same. Sure, he can hurt Wilder, but he has not shown the ability to be able to finish Wilder, and I think that's a key difference in their power. So before I continue, knuckleheads, Fighters Rep 9, it's going down February 28th. Tickets will be on sale very soon. In the meantime, if you want to help us build this channel and the promotion, hit the subscribe button below and the bell notification icon. Join us, chat with us, let us know what you think about these fights coming up. Also, feel free to donate to the Super Chat or get your Fighters Rep gear in the links below. Anything you purchase or donate to us is going to get reinvested right back into the promotion and into this channel for us to continue building what we believe is the future of combat sports. If you guys know how many people have signed up to fight for Fighters Rep 9, it's just absolutely ridiculous. So I appreciate you guys very much. Thank you for helping us, and I hope you continue to stick with us as we grow. So let's real quick take a look into the chat. Today seems like the few people in here are a little bit shy. Jamaican Boxing in the chat, much appreciated, brother. He says, I have Wilder winning in 7. Ortiz's only chance is to attack Wilder KSI style for the first 4 rounds and hope he catches him. You know, that's one way for him to win the fight, but I think that's a bad idea considering what happened last time, Jamaican Boxing. I think that the best fight for Luis Ortiz to fight is one where he's slightly more active than Wilder. And I say that because, you know, Wilder's typically not very active. He really is choosy with his punches. He doesn't throw a lot of punches per round. He's always looking for the counter. He's always looking for an opening. But he doesn't really throw that much. And so I feel like Ortiz could be technical, could throw just a few more punches than Wilder. And if he fights a disciplined fight, keeps the left side of his face away from that Thanos snap that Deontay Wilder has in that right hand, then he might be able to pull off a decision here. Also, like I said, if he hurts Wilder at any point in this fight, he's got to be careful in conserving his energy, because last time, he emptied that gas tank when he had Wilder hurt and wasn't able to get him out of there. And then he was just a sitting 50, 60-year-old geriatric duck, however old he is. He was just a sitting duck in there, knuckleheads. And just wasn't a good look. Was not a good look. So I'm glad to see that Luis Ortiz has taken this fight more seriously. I think he's noticed that what he can improve is his conditioning, and he's done that. However, has he already been cracked by Wilder? And at this age, is he going to be able to come back with enough to give Wilder another good fight? To be honest, I think this fight, as I indicated in the prediction at the beginning of the week, does not go beyond the halfway mark. I think Wilder gets him out of there, but we will see. John Wick in the chat, thank you for joining, brother. Much appreciated. He says, Wilder in 3 by knockout. He is going to make a statement with Ortiz this time. My goodness. I can really see that happening. I've heard people say Wilder might get him out of there in 1 or 2 rounds. There's this huge notion going around among boxing fans that Wilder's just going to get this guy out of there quick. And you know what? I agree with that. I think now that Wilder has already tasted what Luis Ortiz has had to offer, already seen what Luis Ortiz has brought. He's already seen it. He's been there. He's done that. He's the younger man. He's the stronger man. He's the one that's not coming off a knockout to the other guy the way Luis Ortiz is. And even though, again, he's in better shape, seemingly on the outside, Luis Ortiz is an aged and aging fighter. He's not getting any younger. He's not heading anywhere closer to his prime, whereas Deontay Wilder might still be priming, might still be headed towards his prime. We don't even know. We didn't even get a chance to assess Wilder in his last fight because he knocked his opponent out so fast. That could happen again here. So, we're going to have to see what happens. But I think Wilder's going to get him out of there. That being said, you never know, man. Ortiz is a very tough guy, and he looked very calm at the weigh-ins. And again, he didn't look gaunt to me. That's something I always look for when I watch these guys weigh in. Does he look sickly? Does he look tired? He didn't look that way to me. Ortiz looked totally chill, totally ready to go, despite, being in much better shape and being much more chiseled than he typically is. He just looked ready to go, cool, calm, collected, ready to fight. So that is a scary indicator for Wilder's team. But again, I got to stick to my guns on this one. I think Wilder gets him out of there first half of the fight. Tony, thank you so much for joining the chat, brother. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and click the bell notification icon. And if you guys are watching this on the replay, be sure to hit that like button. Share, subscribe, do everything the nice people on YouTube do to show some love. Tony says, I think Ortiz is super confident. And that's a good point. That's a good point. That's kind of what I was alluding to there. He looked totally chill at the weigh-in. He was laughing it up with Wilder. They shook each other's hand. He didn't look sick or like he struggled to make weight. He said he's ready. In Spanish, he said, estoy listo. And I was just like, man, this guy is ready. He looks ready. But, Father Time's never lost. And that odometer has got a lot of mileage on it. So I'm definitely interested in watching this fight tomorrow. I'm very excited about this fight. It's my second most anticipated fight for the remainder of the year after that Ruiz versus Joshua fight. I want to see what happens. There is the possibility Luis Ortiz wins this fight. We can't overlook that, ever. Luis Ortiz is an extremely capable, if anything, a more technical boxer than Deontay Wilder any day of the week. But again, is he going to be able to overcome the power disadvantage, the age disadvantage, the height and the reach disadvantage, the mental disadvantage of having been knocked into oblivion by Deontay Wilder? It's just a hard thing to come back from, in my opinion, typically. But when you're also amplifying that difficulty with the fact that the man looks like he's 50 years old, even though he's listed at 40, I think he's probably closer to 50. When you add that to the fray and the fact that he's shorter and everything else, it just doesn't, to me, it just doesn't sound or feel or look like a good fight for Luis Ortiz. John Wick in the chat says, I watched Ortiz's last two fights last night and he looked bad and sluggish. I told you, my man. We were discussing this on Wednesday, John, and I told you, my man, I said, man, he fought, I think it was Travis Kaufman and I think it was Razvan Kojanu. I think that's how you say the name. And he didn't look spectacular in either one of those fights, and neither one of those guys really belonged in there with him, and he still didn't really look that good in those fights. So I agree, I'm not sure if those fights were indicative of somebody that's going to be able to beat Wilder. To me, they just didn't look like it, man. It didn't look like this guy is going to be able to beat Wilder from those fights. But at least he's been active, at least he's been in there staying in shape. At least he's gotten himself in better shape. And you can never count a guy like that out, especially the fact that he's a southpaw. That left hand hurt Wilder. That left hand is kryptonite for orthodox fighters. Excuse me. So that's definitely something that I'm going to be looking for. That lefty versus righty deal. Of course, King Kong Ortiz hits hard. So again, you never know, but I gotta feel Wilder on this one, you guys. I got him listed as the best heavyweight in the world right now until somebody comes and changes my mind. I got Deontay Wilder as the best heavyweight in the world. Jamaican Boxing says, if AJ beats Ruiz, do you think he will fight Wilder for undisputed or with Eddie Germs? Put him on the witness protection program again. I think if AJ beats Ruiz, then it's a must that AJ and Ruiz do a rubber match. I think if AJ beats Ruiz and doesn't give him a rubber match, it's going to look really bad for AJ. And I just don't think AJ, who is semi his own boss, if we're being honest here. Hearn, a lot of people talk shit about Eddie Hearn, but Eddie Hearn turned Anthony Joshua into a brand, and Anthony Joshua took that brand and turned it into his own. And I think Eddie Hearn really catapulted AJ as far as him being a brand and a businessman. So I think that as long as AJ has some sort of control over himself and his brand, that he is going to want to he's going to want to give Ruiz that rematch. If Ruiz loses to him, he's going to want to give him that rubber match. That's the problem with the whole fucking heavyweight division right now, is that Deontay Wilder has to beat Luis Ortiz, which I think he'll do, but you never know what happens tomorrow. Then AJ and Ruiz have to fight, and if AJ wins that fight against Ruiz, then they have to have a rubber match. And that rubber match maybe happens, I'm hoping, at the time when Fury and Wilder happens. And then the winner of those two fights will fight each other. I mean, it's almost like you have to project or look a couple years down the line or a year and a half down the line to see what's going to happen and how this division is going to sort itself out. So it's kind of crazy right now. Let's see here. So, yeah, I don't think AJ would fight Wilder if he beats Ortiz. I think he would have to do the rubber match, and maybe it'll happen, a little bit after that alleged Wilder-Fury fight happens, assuming that Wilder doesn't get knocked out by Luis Ortiz, which I don't see happening. I think Wilder blows right through Luis Ortiz. You know, if I'm being honest with you guys, this is what I think is going to happen. And you can come back and laugh at me if it doesn't. Wilder beats Ortiz tomorrow. Anthony Joshua beats Ruiz in the rematch. That's the immediate future for me. Then Fury and Wilder fight. We'll get to that. We'll get to that when we get to it. I can't pick a winner for that until I know that if Fury's head is in this or not, because I don't know how Fury feels right now. You know, that guy's erratic. But I do think Wilder beats Ortiz. Joshua beats Ruiz. Now, once Joshua beats Ruiz, they're 1-1. They got to run back that rubber match. They got to run that shit back. Deontay Wilder, he's gonna fight Fury, and if Fury is focused, that's a tough fight for Wilder, man. I'm telling you guys, that is a tough fight for Wilder if Fury is focused. But we'll see. I mean, I still got Wilder number one just because I feel like Fury's all over the fucking place all the time. He's shown these erratic tendencies. Wilder hasn't. Wilder's been consistent. And so I got to have Wilder ranked as number one. But if Fury is focused, man, if Fury is focused, he can beat anybody, you know? So we'll see what happens there. Ray Santos Crypto, thank you so much for joining the chat, brother. He says, I think Ortiz should buy some Bitcoin and retire with his profits. Ray Santos, thank you for your comment there. Please hit the subscribe button, you guys. If you haven't already, it'd be greatly appreciated. You'll help me build the channel as well as the promotion. We're the only kickboxing promotion in the whole state of California. So when you guys donate, it's much appreciated. You can donate to the Super Chat. You can get your Fighters Rep gear and the links below and help us continue to build this thing. And obviously, we're looking for business to sponsor the next fight. So if anybody wants a tax write-off and wants to support the fight game, and if you're in California, get a VIP table with some bottle service, feel free to sponsor the fight game. You can hit me up and we can do that. John Wick says, he is definitely a better boxer, but Wilder worked his jab and he will look to counterpunch and unleash the right hand, and good night, Lucille. What is... No, it's good night, Irene. What do you mean good night, Lucille, John Wick? Why are you messing with the saying? It's good night, Irene. Marco Martinez says, I think boxing needs to continue to move away from the 70 pay-per-views. I like this fight, but I don't think there's enough chance Wilder loses to throw that kind of money down. I agree with that, man. A $70 pay-per-view. You know, Wilder, unfortunately, I mean, even though I love him, I don't think to the casual fan he's that much of a draw. He's not that much of a draw for them to be asking for $70 for a pay-per-view. I do think Wilder should have gone with DAZN. I really do, you know, but maybe I'm wrong about that. I think Wilder should have gone with Eddie Hearn, man. I think Eddie Hearn would have turned Wilder into a much bigger star than he is. I think Wilder's career has languished more than I would have liked it to. I think he's very marketable, but the way he's been moved, I don't like it. Domo 5K, thank you so much for joining the chat, brother. Please hit that subscribe button and the bell notification icon. I'd appreciate it. He says, Garcia gets dropped December 28th, round 2 against Gamboa. Or Gervonta gets dropped December 28th, round 2 against Gamboa. Oh, Domo 5K. I hope you don't really believe that. You think an old Gamboa is going to beat Gervonta Tank Davis? Oh, no, my friend. I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one, brother. I think that this is a big-time setup fight. A-side versus B-side setup fight. What we typically get in boxing. And I think Gamboa is going to get beat up by Gervonta Tank Davis, who's a star. I just, wish he would fight more. Marco Martinez says, if AJ completely smokes Ruiz, he won't give him the rematch. There was no Luis Rahman 3. That's true. I forgot to say that. If AJ just blows him out, there probably is no need for a rematch. But considering the fact that Ruiz blew AJ out in the first fight, let's be honest, that was a bit of a blowout, then maybe he would consider it. I just think AJ is an honorable guy, a man of his word, and he would make that happen. John Wick, replying to Domo 5K, says Gamboa, too, he is going to get starched, bro. I think John Wick meant to say Gamboa's too old. He's going to get starched, and I agree with that. He's going to get starched bad. Domo 5K says Gamboa's going to fry Tank. Yeah, well, he better fry him some tostones or some chicken or something, because he's not frying nothing for Tank Davis. Personally, he's going to get his ass kicked. So he might, the closest thing he's going to get to frying Tank is frying him some food. He's not going to beat him, that's for damn sure. Khalid Dibani, thank you for joining the chat. Yahui, hit that subscribe and bell notification icon if you don't mind. He says the fighters are so old. I don't know what you're talking about, the fighters being so old. I think you're probably talking about Luis Ortiz. Please specify in this chat, sir. John Wick says, wanna bet? Oh, put your money where your mouth is. Domo 5 Tank replies, Tank is literally Adrian Broner Jr. He doesn't stay in shape between fights. He gets cracked and dropped round 2. You know, that's really surprising to me that there's somebody out there with your opinion, Domo, that thinks that Tank is going to get beat up by Yuriorkis Gamboa. I just don't see that happening on any, in any way, shape, or form. I don't see how that happens. But, we welcome all opinions on this channel. This channel, like I've said before, we don't care where you're from, what you look like. We just love boxing, and we are not the typical YouTube tribal weirdo channel trying to kick you out of here if we don't like your opinion. Your opinions are appreciated. Thank you so much. And you never know, sometimes people have insider knowledge that we don't. It's important to hear what everybody has to say. John Wick says, I'll put 500 on Davis. Oh man. The midget Gamboa, Davis dunks him in 2 rounds. Domo 5K. Domo 5K replies, you're on crack. John Wick, Lucille sounds better, he says. Oh my God. Okay, now they're betting with each other. You guys are absolutely hilarious right now. George says, sup, cuz. Peace from your big boss cousin from Sweden. What up, cuzzo? Hit me up from Sweden, my man. Thank you so much for joining the chat. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, cousin. I'm glad to see you on here, man. Thanks for joining. Let us know what you think all the way from Sweden. My cuzzo, John Wick, and Domo still going at it here. Jamaican Boxing says, Gervonta is going to knock all 8 of Gamboa's remaining teeth out. Jamaican Boxing, brutal, my man. I'm going to have to agree with that, man. I just don't see. I don't see how Gamboa can beat Gervonta Davis. I don't see it. Domo 5K says Haney would obliterate Tank too. That's a possibility. That's a fight I would like to see because I do think Haney is talented. But I do think, I think Gamboa is a talented guy. But I think at this point in his career, he's absolutely done. He's been done for years since... I think Terrence Crawford was the last good fight he was in. He's just not even been the same guy since then. So, I don't think Gamboa has any shot at all in beating Gervonta Tank Davis. But, I could be wrong. It's happened before. John Wick says, no thought, FB, I will sell. Okay, they're still talking about betting. Suleiman in the chat. What up, my brother Suleiman? I appreciate you, my man. He says, Luis Ortiz only getting 1.5 million guaranteed. Imagine turning down 7 million from AJ just to get 1.5. Luis Ortiz is a useful idiot to the PBC. My goodness, that is absolutely terrifying that somebody would turn down $7 million for $1.5 million. But you know what? He probably feels like he can beat Deontay Wilder, but he probably feels like AJ's just wrong for him, and he'd have a much harder fight against AJ. He sees the vulnerability in Wilder and he feels like he can capitalize. He's got a severe technical edge on Wilder that he doesn't have over AJ. I mean, he might be slightly more technically sound than AJ, but the gap isn't as big as between him and Wilder. And so I think he feels like he can take advantage of Deontay Wilder's technical shortcomings. But at the same time, Wilder's got that powerful right hand, and even though AJ's strong, he doesn't have that eraser the way Wilder does. I mean, he can't knock you out. But Wilder's definitely the biggest puncher in the heavyweight division. So something to be scared of. Marco Martinez says, what do you make of the Mayweather post on Instagram last night? Floyd likes to tease comebacks, but Dana White usually follows through. You know, I heard Floyd Mayweather say, I believe it was yesterday, say that he's not going to come back to boxing because he has his health, and that's sort of what he cares about. But then I see his post today saying he's coming back in 2020. I do believe that he's going to do... Excuse me, man. I shouldn't have eaten that damn Jack in the Box. I do believe he's going to do that exhibition fight with Manny Pacquiao. I think that's what's going to happen. He's going to do that exhibition fight with Manny Pacquiao. So he's going to come back, but it's going to be like a half-assed comeback that won't count. And there you go. Domo and John Wick, you guys are betting. How about half of those proceeds go to Fighters Rep, and you guys help me pay for some medals for these young fighters we got here while you guys are doing your pissing contest. That would be awesome. I'd appreciate it very much. Let's see here. John Wick and Domo still going at it. Marco Martinez says Floyd versus Masvidal would sell some major pay-per-views. Yeah, but, I don't know. I think Masvidal wants that Canelo fight. But, yeah, I mean, I'm sure he'd take the Floyd fight. That'd be pretty cool. Domo 5K says Tank doesn't put in work like any of them, especially if he goes up to Haney. Their division is a Shark Tank, and he's not going to last long. That's possible. Marco Martinez says they can fight at 160, and Marco's referring to Floyd Mayweather and Masvidal. Those of you that are going to be watching on the replay, what do you think of that? Floyd Mayweather versus Masvidal. I would love to watch Masvidal versus Canelo Alvarez, but I don't see Floyd Mayweather doing a Masvidal fight, although you never know. You never know. I mean, they made McGregor happen, so who knows? Suleiman says, do you think Tank Davis would be a bigger star if he was with Bob Arum or Eddie? If I'm being honest with you, Suleiman, I think anybody is a bigger star when they go with Eddie Hearn. I think Eddie Hearn is the best promoter in boxing. That's my opinion. I feel like nobody does it the way Eddie Hearn does. Nobody invests as much marketing and media and flashiness and everything else into boxing the way Eddie Hearn does. I think Bob Arum does what he can, but, at his age, I mean, I think he's kind of probably set in his ways, and you're not going to see too much more improvement from there, whereas Eddie Hearn is basically changing the game with DAZN, man, trying to change the game to the point where he got Oscar on board with Canelo, and, he got Triple G, and, I mean, Eddie Hearn is trying to monopolize this boxing thing, if you ask me. He's trying to be the man, so I think Eddie Hearn is the best promoter, to be honest with you. And I do think Tank Davis would be massive if he went with Eddie Hearn. Instead, he's with PBC and Leonard Ellerbe and Mayweather. I mean, look, Mayweather did great in that he directed his career in a way where he made more money than anybody. But Floyd Mayweather is the only Floyd Mayweather. Tank Davis is not Floyd Mayweather. He's not capable of doing what Floyd Mayweather did from a business and personality standpoint. So he needs a promoter, in my opinion, like Eddie Hearn to make him shine. Certain guys can do it on their own the way Floyd Mayweather did. Because Floyd Mayweather, he went with that heel shtick. He stuck with it. He drove people crazy, and that's how he was able to generate all that income. I don't think Tank Davis has the personality or the know-how to pull that off. Not anybody can pull off what Mayweather did, put themselves under that much pressure, and still perform the way Mayweather did. I mean, it was masterful. Over and over again. So I just don't see anybody being able to do what Mayweather did. I think a lot of these guys need a good promoter, and I think Eddie's the best one. Marco Martinez says Gamboa was an exciting fighter at one point, but his chin betrayed him, and then his style got kind of boring. I do think, I mean, perhaps his chin betrayed him, and his style isn't, the best anymore, because I think he's aged. I think, he fought Terrence Crawford, who's one of the best, if not the best, pound for pound right now. So, and then he got older. I mean, his career just started to go downhill. It happens to all of them, you know what I mean? So, but I just don't see how he's going to beat Tank Davis, though. I think that's crazy. Jamaican Boxing says, you're crazy if you think Leonard Ellerby's nostrils will put Tank in a fight he knows he could possibly lose. I agree with that, man. I agree with that. He would much faster tuck Tank Davis into one of those nostrils than have him fight somebody that he can beat, or that can beat him, rather. Domo 5K says, when I win the 500 from Gamboa, I got you. Oh, man, I'm on your team, Domo. I hope you beat John Wick. Oh, no, John Wick said I will do that for sure. Hey, man, I'd appreciate you guys. If you guys have a business, all right, we'll do something for the fighters. Maybe if we do like some medals or something, I'll put your business name on the ribbon. We could always do something. We could put you guys on the live stream or something like that. Shout you out if you guys donate any of that money to the promotion. Jamaican Boxing said, Floyd is a hoe. That's why Nelly took his girlfriend, Ma Jackson, and drilled a hole through her punani. Very nice, Jamaican Boxing. Thank you for the TMZ insight on that one, brother. Much appreciated. Let's see here. Domo 5K said, Masvidal has a shot against Floyd, but has nothing against Canelo, if I'm being honest. And why do you say that? Is it because Floyd's smaller? I can see that too. I feel like now Floyd's a little bit older. It's a better fight for Masvidal than Canelo. And Masvidal's a big guy. I think he's going to be bigger than Floyd. Suleiman says Masvidal wouldn't touch Mayweather. Like, he literally wouldn't get a glove on Mayweather. That could be possible too. John Wick laughing at Jamaican Boxing. Suleiman says Mayweather didn't respect Conor's punching power. He wouldn't fight Masvidal like he did Conor. Maybe that's true. I do think Masvidal has a lot of power. But, Conor has a lot of power too. I just feel like maybe he didn't catch Mayweather as cleanly as he would have liked to. And maybe it's different with those thicker gloves that you have to use in boxing. Domo says, what do you think about Rollies versus Garcia if it happens? I like Garcia, man. I like Garcia. I think he's got a bright future. I think he's a talented kid. Tell me what you think, Domo. Jamaican Boxing says, hello, John Wick. It's true. Nelly piped down Floyd's girl in real life. Marco Martinez says, Suleiman, I agree with your take on Mayweather Masvidal. I just think if you wanted to make a massive event, you capitalize on Masvidal's momentum. If I'm Dana White, I keep Masvidal far away from Usman or Colby. Both of those guys would expose Masvidal. Yeah, well, Marco, we said that about Askren, right? That's what we said about Askren. And Masvidal detonated on that guy's face and basically, was the beginning of the end for Askren's career. He then went on to fight Maia, got choked out, and now he's retired, apparently. So I don't know. And then Masvidal spent so much time training with Colby Covington that I'm sure his wrestling is really good. I think Masvidal's wrestling is probably underrated. Let's not forget when Damian Maia took Masvidal down, he couldn't finish him. And it was a grappling match for the entirety of the fight, and he couldn't finish Masvidal. So I think Masvidal's more proficient on the ground than we're giving him credit for, and now he's much more ruthless. And I think he's got a good shot against Usman or Colby. Obviously, I'm always going to favor the wrestlers because I think wrestling, grappling in general, is just a huge part of MMA and can't be overlooked. But I do think Masvidal is so good all around that he might be able to pull it off. You know what I mean? You never know. I would never count Masvidal out, especially because he's my boy from Miami. Got to represent my boy from Miami. Saul West, thank you so much for joining the chat, brother. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and bell notification icon. It would be much appreciated. He says, can you see Arum and Heyman working together to make Fury Wilder 2? Absolutely. I can definitely see that happening. I can definitely see that happening. There's a lot of money to be made there. And money talks and bullshit walks, bro. So I can definitely see that happening. But the only issue I have with Fury Wilder 2 is, well, besides the fact that Wilder could get beat tomorrow, I don't think it's going to happen, but it could happen. Besides that, I mean, Fury has been just so erratic and inconsistent with his career that, I mean, I don't know if he's going to turn around and become a fucking bus driver tomorrow. You know, who knows what this guy's going to do. So that's the only thing that worries me about that fight. Also, there was that huge cut on Fury's eye. Let's not forget that. You know, Fury's eye got jacked up in that last fight against that, you know, Otto Wallin guy. So it's like, is his eye going to be healed in time to fight Deontay Wilder? You know, there's a lot of ifs in boxing. So, you know, we'll see what happens. But I do think if they get there, they'll make that fight happen. Domo 5K says, one body shot from Canelo and Masvidal is gasping for air. Canelo's not the same fighter he was when he fought Floyd, and we all know that. I agree 100% with you on that one, Domo. I agree 100% with you on that one, brother. John Wick said, I would watch Masvidal, but Mayweather would box him and drop him late rounds. That's probably what would happen. I do think Mayweather's the most surgical, technical boxer I've ever seen, and I don't think anybody from the UFC would be able to deal with that. Saul West says, there's a reason Khabib cuts all that weight to avoid Usman and Colby. Yeah, I mean, his wrestling would probably be negated by those guys. And then what does he have left? His striking, which is average at best, probably mediocre. Suleiman says, Domo 5K, Mayweather beats the Canelo that just fought Kovalev 10 times out of 10. Canelo wouldn't catch Mayweather. Well, what he caught Kovalev with. Wow. So, Suleiman, you still think that Mayweather would beat Kovalev? You know, I think at this point, or Mayweather would beat Canelo. I think at this point, Canelo would beat Mayweather. If they could even make the same weight class. I don't think Canelo's going to be able to go down to welterweight anymore, or maybe even super welter. But I do think at this point Canelo would beat Mayweather. I don't think Mayweather would come back and be the same fighter that he was. But you never know. Jamaican Boxing says, let's not get it twisted. Masvidal is a star, but he isn't an international star like Conor or Khabib. If Floyd is going to fight any MMA fighter, it's either Khabib or Conor's rematch. And I think a Khabib fight will be the way to go if I'm Floyd Mayweather, because that's easy work. Unless Khabib gets pissed and wants to wrestle him down to the floor and ground and pound him. That's easy work for Floyd Mayweather, and a lot of money. A lot of money. Or Jamaican Boxing, what he does is he does an exhibition fight in Asia against Manny Pacquiao. Boom! Boom, there it is. Whiskey Dragonfly, my man. What's up? He says, peace, peace, fam. Peace to you, Whiskey. He says, if Conor caught a 40-year-old Floyd, Masvidal could most def catch a 42-year-old Floyd without question. Floyd still wins, though. Jorge versus Canelo would be a better fight, though. I wonder why you think that. Why do you guys think Jorge versus Canelo would be better than Jorge versus Floyd? Tell me why you guys think that. Marco Martinez says, Usman and Colby are younger, bigger, stronger than Askren. Askren just wasn't as good as his hype. Well, you know, I think you're right. I think you're right. But I still think Jorge would do pretty good or could beat Usman and Colby. I agree with you that their wrestling would probably make me favor them, but I still think, Masvidal should get a title shot against the winner of that fight and could definitely beat either one of those guys. Suleiman says Jorge versus Canelo would end in internal bleeding and fractured skull for Masvidal if it's boxing. I agree with that. I don't think he would do well against Canelo Alvarez. I'd watch it. It'd be fun. But if Canelo Alvarez is knocking out light heavyweights, good luck. Domo 5K says, I honestly want to see Garcia go late round so we can test out that chin, durability, and stamina and see if he has as much potential as everybody says. For sure, man. I would love to see that too, But, I mean, he passes the eye test. I'll say that. I mean, his hands are fast. He's got some good boxing skills. But, he does need to be seasoned. He's still a very young prospect. John Wick says, a young Askren would have done way better. He was old by the time he got in. I mean, I don't know if he was old, John. I don't know if he was old. I just think he didn't fight the same level of competition. I mean, look, he was undefeated at one, right? Then he comes to the UFC, gets the shit beat out of him by Robbie Lawler, and wins a controversial decision in that fight. Or a controversial stoppage in that fight. Then he gets, lit up by Jorge Masvidal in the fastest knockout in history. Then he gets choked out by Damian Maia, who's old, okay? And let's not forget, Masvidal's in his 30s too. So I just think it's a different league. It's a different level of talent in the UFC. You're fighting nothing but the best when you get to the UFC. There's no tune-up fight, man. It's fucking ruthless. That is a ruthless company, man, the UFC. And they'll cut your ass, man. They will cut your ass if you lose a couple times. You don't even have to lose like 3 times anymore. If they're just like whatever about you and they don't think you're a fucking piranha in there, they're just going to fucking kick your ass out. Let's see here. Suleiman says, laughing my ass off, Canelo ain't no skinny slapping Diaz. That hands down shit would get Masvidal killed against Canelo in the boxing. I agree, man. I agree. Canelo hits fucking hard. Every punch he was throwing at Kovalev, I don't know what the fuck everybody else was watching, but every punch he threw at Kovalev was just absolutely huge, man. It was just like so fast. He was slinging fucking swords at Kovalev, man. He destroyed Kovalev. And that's a bigger guy, So, yeah, I agree, man. You can't put your hands down against a guy like that. He'll send your ass into fucking orbit. Got Boxing 510 in the chat. Salute to you, brother. Thank you for joining, my man. Thank you for joining. Let's see here. Whiskey Dragonfly says, Suleiman Masvidal never been stopped, bro. He'd last 12 with Canelo, probably lose 10 rounds. Though, Whiskey, he's never been stopped, but he's never fought 12 rounds. And he's never fought 12 rounds in a striking-only match against fucking Canelo Alvarez, man. Bro, I don't know, man. I don't think he'd make it out of that 12-round fight, if I'm being honest with you. Jamaican Boxing, breaking news. Tyson Fury's back on that crack pipe. I wouldn't doubt it. Suleiman says, breaking news, Tyson Fury was never really on coke. He was a drug cheat who used cocaine to mask the nandrolone. He's just an alcoholic. Oh, my God. Whiskey Dragon. You guys are the most fucking hilarious people, bro. Whiskey Dragonfly. People are still fascinated with a prime Mayweather. The man is 42, pushing 43. These young boys would KO Floyd right now. No one beats Father Time. Absolutely. I agree with that, man. I think that's why Floyd decided it's time for me to pack up. I made my money. It's time to get out. But maybe he'll come back and do an exhibition fight. Why not? It won't fuck with his O at all. That's for sure. His O won't go with an exhibition fight, so let's do it. Domo 5K says they shouldn't have stopped the Diaz fight. I mean, maybe not, but do you think that Diaz was going to win that fight? I mean, I thought Diaz was getting his ass beat. I mean, I thought Diaz was getting his ass whipped for 3 rounds. I don't know. And then his eye, man, those are some fucked up cuts, man. You know, I think if you want the guy to continue his career, it's not that bad of a stoppage because his brain was showing, man. Jamaican boxing. Hey, Floyd did not box Conor. He fought him KSI style with a high guard. If Floyd had boxed Conor, then Conor wouldn't land 10 punches. Suleiman Diaz would have been KO or TKO'd 100% if the fight wasn't stopped. The doctor saved Diaz from becoming a meme. I agree, Suleiman. Bro, listen, I got respect for the Diaz brothers, man. I got respect for Nate Diaz. I would never say, fuck the Diaz brothers, like they did in that little meme. But he was getting his ass whipped, man. He was getting his ass beat, and there was nothing to save him from that ass whipping that he was taking, you guys. Nothing at all. Let's see here. Got boxing. We already said what's up to you, brother. Thank you for joining the chat. John Wick says, well, his hip is fried. He's been done since hip injury. But yeah, I wanted him to lose, but I think if he got there younger, he'd have done okay. Perhaps. Domo 5K says, Diaz is a warrior. He'll fight until he needs to, no matter what the situation. I agree with that. He's a big-time warrior. And, but, you know, what's reality's fucking reality, man. He was getting destroyed in that fight. And people are talking about he was going to start to get going in rounds 4 and 5. I mean, his fucking liver was about to fall out of his ass. He was getting kicked so hard to the body and getting his ass beat so hard. So I don't see it, man. I don't see it. Jamaican Boxing says, I wish I could afford the beef Canelo been eating. Got boxing fight that says go to Mexico. Jamaican Boxing, man, when you come down here to California to see your ex, and we'll get some. You don't even have to go to Mexico to get that beef. I'm right here in Southern California. We could just get it right here at the corner, man. I live in San Pedro. It's almost like you're in Mexico, bro. We'll get some al pastor tacos. We'll get some agua de Jamaica. We'll do it real, or get you a jarritos. We'll do it real Mexican style right here in San Pedro, brother. Or if you want, we could drive down to the border, cross it, get some tacos in Tijuana or something, and then we can go lift weights right afterwards. Let's see here. John Wick says, Diaz got his ass handed to him. Masvidal was a savage in that fight. Hell yeah, dude. Holy shit, man. Diaz got his fucking ass beat in that fight, man. I don't know. Got boxing 5'10". What do you think is going to win between Santa Cruz and Miguel Flores? I think Santa Cruz. I mean, I haven't really noticed anything special about Miguel Flores, but I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. I just think Santa Cruz is a pretty good boxer, and he throws like a million punches around. So you got to kill him to beat him, basically. Or he has to fight a stupid fight like he did against Frampton the first time. But Santa Cruz probably wins that fight. Domo 5K says, if only Canelo Mayweather too. That'd be fun, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're too far apart in weight now and too far apart in age now, and Mayweather wouldn't take that fight. Jamaican Boxing says, Nate Diaz be like, I was going to whoop his ass in round 4 at 5 after he whooped my ass in 1, 2, and 3. Exactly. That's exactly what it is, man. Suleiman says, Diaz gets mauled to death by Habib. Also, if Habib beats Tony and doesn't move up, what is there left for him to do? You know, I think if Habib beats Tony, then it's probably time for him to retire. I mean, the only other fight I could see Habib taking is, let's say he beats Tony and then maybe McGregor wants a rematch and the money is so right. Habib takes it. You know, maybe he would take that. But I think if Habib beats Tony, That could very well be his last fight, man. I think he's alluded to retiring in the past, and I wouldn't put it past him to retire right after that fight. Suleiman says Diaz gets mauled to death by Habib, or we already read that. Mo, thank you for joining the chat, brother. Appreciate you joining the chat. Hit that subscribe button and the bell notification icon if you haven't already. Also, guys, hit that like button on your way in, or the door will hit you in the ass on the way out. Mo says Charlie Zelenoff is coming for Wilder. That would be a really exciting fight. I definitely want to see that fight. But I want to see that one bare knuckle. They should do that at BKFC once Wilder retires and Zelenoff is retired. That would be a lot of fun. Jamaican Boxing says, why doesn't the UFC show their pay-per-view numbers anymore? You know, probably because they're on ESPN Plus or whatever. I don't know. And maybe they don't want people criticizing them. I don't know, but maybe since it's a streaming service, the numbers aren't as good. Who knows? You know, maybe they have to like show per subscriber. I don't know. John Wick says, I think if Tony beats Habib, he'll retire. I don't want no smoke in the next division. I agree. He's not going to want any smoke in that division up because he's just limited, you know. Habib can wrestle his ass off, man. He's amazing, you know. And, you know, he can strike a little bit, but those guys in that next division are bigger and stronger and can wrestle too. So, I mean, what's he going to do if he's fighting guys that can wrestle as good as he can, but they can punch too, you know, and they can strike? He'd be in big trouble in those divisions. In that next division, it's a bad stylistic matchup for him in that division. A bunch of bad stylistic matchups. Domo 5K says, didn't Haney call out Tank and Ryan? I think he did. And I like Haney for doing that, and I hope it happens. But this, at the end of the day, we're talking about boxing, guys. We are talking about boxing. The most A side versus B side, disparate, corrupt, unfair, BS, pretend, fantastical sport in combat sports. It's boxing. It's total bullshit. And Haney and Tank Davis may never fight each other. And Ryan Garcia, these guys may never, ever fight each other. And that's just the way boxing is, man. You guys know. Suleiman says, Tony Ferguson already said he plans to move up. You know, I want to see Tony Ferguson be more active. I mean, he had a major surgery, and then he fought Anthony Pettis, and I just haven't seen him since then. I don't know if he's the same Tony Ferguson as when he left. You know, the verdict is still out on Tony Ferguson. So I'd like to see more of him before anybody says anything about Tony Ferguson's career. John Wick says, haha, we said it at the same time. Suleiman, Habib versus Justin Gaethje, possibly after. That'd be a fun fight. I love Gaethje, and Gaethje can wrestle. Even though he never wrestles in the octagon, he just knocks people out, but that'd be a fun fight. Godboxing 510 says, support bare knuckle boxing. Oh my God. Jamaican Boxing says, GSP versus Bisping did $850K on pay-per-view. Habib will beat Tony, then fight GSP in Canada, then rematch Conor in Russia, and retires. Remember, you heard it here first. Damn, that's brilliant, Jamaican Boxing. I like that a lot. But, I mean, does GSP come back from retirement to fight Habib? I mean, he's the bigger guy, I think, but that's a tough fight. Domo says, John Wick, I'm waiting for your email still. Suleiman. John Wick, I think Domo's waiting for you to send him an email. And vice versa. I think Domo's waiting for you to send him an email, John Wick. You guys are crazy, man. Suleiman says, and we all know Habib is terrified of Kevin Lee, the real boogeyman that sees holes in the souls. Just ridiculous, man. Suleiman says, yeah, Tony's been fighting once a year for like the past few years. I love John Wick's email address, you guys. Are you guys ready for this? Thanos Marvel Killer 420. Ah! John Wick, you are tripping, man. Domo 5K says Triple G Canelo 3. You know what, guys? I like it. I like Triple G Canelo 3. I think Canelo wins that fight, but that's a big money fight for Canelo and a way to get him back closer to his natural weight. John Wick says Domo 5K, take down that email. Domo 5K says it's easy money. Nobody believes in Gamboa. We should see. Domo, man, look, I'm going to advise you, right, as an attorney, although this is not actual legal work and I'm just being silly. But as an attorney, I'm advising you don't place a bet on Yuriorkis Gamboa, brother. I'm only saying it because I care about you, my man. Much love, brother. Got boxing. Canelo versus Triple G might happen in 2020. Hopefully. I mean, would be a fun fight, but I think Canelo probably runs through him at that point. Suleiman says all he's missing is a 6'9" in the email. Suleiman, you're a ruthless guy, my man. Domo 5K says Triple G has Canelo by decision easily. Oh my God, Domo. Now you're fucking trolling, bro. Jamaican Boxing. Did you know that AJ piped down Amir Khan's wife? It happened like a year ago. Facts. Jamaican Boxing, you know about everybody's, sexual misadventures and exploits. We definitely need to hire you as the romance columnist of this channel, brother. You're the one. I love it. Got Boxing 510 says sure Domo. Oh my God, Domo's about to send you a bet for 500 rupees, bro. So get ready for it. It's gonna be ridiculous. Knuckleheads, we've been on this shit for over an hour. I appreciate you guys joining the chat, man. I appreciate it a lot. But I'm going to sign out. It's Friday night. Spend some time with the family. I agree, John Wick. Sule, man, is a trip. That guy's a trip. So is Jamaican Boxing. But, yeah, you guys have a fantastic evening, man. I'm going to sign off. Maybe have some whiskey. Chill with the kids. They're downstairs wrecking the house. And my wife's about to whip my ass. But you guys have a great one. Appreciate you guys. And until next time, keep it clean.